Sharon, I'm going to have to come to Chattanooga. We're going to have to do lunch one of these days. You, me, Scott, Kathleen. Shoot, we'll take the kids. And we got another person tonight, Mark. Hey, Mark. My name is Gene. If you haven't met me before, it's good to have you with us tonight. Hey, listen, I talk about cardio things all the time, fitness things, especially middle-aged fitness. We talk about our Fitbits quite a bit. But one thing that I've noticed over the last few days at Papa Gene Fitness is that a lot of us are struggling. Anybody that's struggling, tap your screen, give me a heart right now. We're on the verge of spring. I mean, down here in the south, we're getting some waves of it already. The pine trees are releasing tons of pollen. And I can tell you right now, if I could shoot myself through the nose right now, I probably would. So if I cough or hack during the course of this broadcast, just forgive me. But as I posted on Facebook with our group the other day, I hit about a 3-day slump. And I wrote to you guys and I said, for the first time ever, I looked at my wife, Kathleen, and said, I can't find my want to. I don't want to lift weights. I don't want to swim. I certainly don't want to get on the treadmill. I do not want to go run a mountain trail. I don't want to talk about it. Just leave me alone. I didn't tell her to leave me alone, but I was thinking, just leave me alone and let me figure this out. Well, I'm a pragmatic guy. I'm an analyst by trade. It's what I did during my military career. So, and then in my college education, I got about 120 semester hours in psychology and abnormal psychology. So I deal with the normal dilemmas of everyday life and things that are just plumb crazy too. So anyway, well, here we are today. And I had a good conversation with one of my dear friends today. And she'll give me a lot of hearts right now because I'm going to give her a shout out. Go Terry, proud of you and Jerry both. Sharon, love you guys. And for those that are not with us live right now, I understand we live first, we exercise second. You got things to do. You can catch this later for 24 hours. And if not, I'll post it on YouTube for you because I love you that much and it's worth the time and effort. So let's talk about this cardio thing a little bit. We don't want to talk about it because all of us have memories. We have memories of sometime many years ago, maybe in elementary, middle school, high school, maybe even in college, where the coach said, run laps, and in my old high school, the gym was up by the school buildings and the property was huge and out to the highway was about a half mile and back. And so the coach would say, okay, give me a lap, run to the fence and back. Last one back has to run it again. Well, we weren't runners. And this was just physical education in high school. And I'd get about 3/4 of the way out there, about a third of a mile or so. And I'd get that stitch in my side. You know what I'm talking about. And I was like, I couldn't breathe, because my cardio conditioning was not up to par for the task at hand. You read me? I wasn't fit enough to run a mile, at 14, 15 years old because it's not what I did. Well, I'm not 14 or 15 anymore, and neither are you. We're middle-agers. We got grandkids. We're looking forward with great expectations and hope for our truly senior years. We're not there yet, 10, 20 years ago. But on that note, I want to talk to you about a man, and it's not going to be me this time. Surprise! There was a man that had a lot to do with my upbringing. His name was A.J. Flowers. And that was all I ever knew him as was A.J. And he happened to be my grandfather, A.J. Flowers. He was a farmer, cotton farmer, sharecropper after the Great Depression. And when I was born, he was probably already about 50 years old. Well, I recall when he was 79, he went to his doctor, and his doctor said, Mr. Flowers, you're going to have to quit eating the way you do because you're eating sausage and bacon, and you're eating pork, and you're eating beef, and you're eating fish, and if you don't stop eating like you're eating, it's going to kill you. And sure enough, A.J. Flowers, my grandfather, died 17 years later. Do you hear me? 17 years later, after his doctor told him, you've got to have a dramatic shift in your diet or it's going to kill you. Well, let me tell you about Grandpa. Grandpa actively gardened and farmed up until the time he was 86. He didn't die till the time he was 93. And I can remember my mother and my aunts saying, "Daddy, you've got to get out of that garden, and you've got to quit splitting your own firewood, and you've got to get rid of the chickens and the cows and all those sorts of things, because if you don't, Daddy, it's gonna kill you." And for 10 years more, he kept right on gardening and planting those fresh vegetables and harvesting those fresh chicken eggs and eating his scrambled eggs and his bacon and his sausage. And the doctor thought he was onto something. He says, "You need to eat more whole grains, more fruits and vegetables, more potatoes, and you need to lay off all the fatty foods and all that stuff." Well, the one thing my granddad had going for him, clearly, was he had good cardiovascular conditioning. Regardless of his age, at one point it was a necessity to, I said that wrong, a necessity to work hard. He tended perhaps 100, 150 acres by hand for the most part as a farmer. And he bragged when he got a 2-row tractor. Those of you that have been in a farm life, you know that a 2-row tractor back in the 40s or 50s was a big deal. So anyway, he did all his work manually, all his wood splitting manually, all his wood harvesting, all his vegetable and crop harvesting manually. So he stayed very active, and a lot of it was physical work. The man had what I'd like to call a strong heart. Let's come forward now. Papa's been gone since 93. I love the man to death, all the way to death. And he died really of old age. But we've all known somebody that was connected us through church, work, family, or something else. And they said, "Well, why did she pass? Why did he pass?" And we've heard this. You've heard this. I've heard this. Well, she had a weak heart. Oh, a weak heart. What does it mean to have a weak heart? The heart is a muscle. That's my heart impression. But inside our chest, this heart is doing not just oxygen supply to our organs and muscles and to our brain and all that, but this heart is it's the serve pro of the body. It goes in through circulation, and it cleans out everything that's bad, routes it through the liver, the pancreas, through our organs to detoxify our bodies. And it's never stopping. Now when you go to sleep at night, your heart rate might drop like mine does, down into the 50s or the 60s. When I'm doing cardio, I can get it up into the 120s, 130s, sometimes up into the 140s. But my heart is a muscle. And the reason we need to do cardiovascular exercise is because I don't want them to say of me, he died of a weak heart. Why do we need to have a strong heart? It's not like we're going to take on marathon running in our mid-50s or early 60s. I need to have a strong heart because of the job it's doing inside my body every single day, every minute of every day, and especially when I sleep. It's a muscle. It's working. Boom, 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 always pumping. It's taking good oxygen and good nutrients out to our tissues, our organs, our muscles, and it's helping pump the bad stuff away. I need to have a strong heart throughout my life. How much cardio? Well, you can look at the American Heart Association website and they'll say, oh, well, and this number fluctuates, but about 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise about 3 times a week. I can do that. Well, as I started out talking about, I was in the dumps for about 3 days. I'm not impervious to getting in the dumps. I'm just a human being. I got life stuff going. I got adult kids. I got grandkids. I got dogs, and one of them has a lump on his shoulder, and I got to get him operated on. I have life stress just like you do. One of my close friends, he's going out on a new business venture. He just had a tragedy in his family that broke his heart. And he's got to get through all this. He needs a strong heart right now. And I know he's hearing this, so and he knows who I'm talking to. I love this guy. I can't hug his neck, but I know what he's going through. And the last thing he's got on his mind right now is getting stronger or losing weight or anything else like that. He's just living right now because he's got a family to take care of. Well, why do we need a strong heart for everyday living other than helping to keep our circulation going and keeping even our toes healthy and our fingers healthy, our hair healthy? Why do we need a strong heart? Well, we do have those stressful periods in life, and they come suddenly, usually. Now, I'm not going to be dramatic here and say the house is going to catch on fire and I have to rush in and find my grandkids or my kids or my wife or somebody collapsed from smoke inhalation and have to drag them out of the house, but I might have to. Some other tragedy could happen, but it's not just for those type things, and I promise you, there's not going to be a zombie apocalypse. You can just forget about that. We're not going to have to run from the zombies. What we are going to have to do is get to the end and do it as well as we can. The heart takes care of everything else about us, and we need it to be strong today, tomorrow, the next day, next year, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I never really thought I'd live to be 93, but A.J. Flowers did. He never actively exercised. He just stayed active. And by coincidence, because of farm labor, he got some cardiovascular exercise. 93, that sounds really good to me. And you know what? He was strong until the end. And now he did have a rough last 6 months, but it was old age and it was his time to go, and he was ready to go. So when you're thinking about, well, gee, even Papa Gene is down in the dumps and he can't find his want to, and this is all he does. No, it's not all I do. I live. Do you hear me? I live. I do things with my wife. We go to doctor's appointments. We have to go shopping. We have to talk to kids on the phone. I mean, we're doing the same stuff you are, but I'm going to find, if I have to spank myself to make myself do it, I'm going to find some time to work on my cardiovascular health. Today, didn't feel like it, didn't want to. You can't make me. I'm going to cry a little bit for you. But, about 1 o'clock, I said, well, I'm going to go get on a treadmill because I don't want to walk outside. I just don't want to do it. The neighbors are burning woods up the street. They cleared a lot, and the whole community is filled with smoke. I don't want to walk in that. I don't want to drive to the gym. I got on the treadmill. About 32 minutes time, I had about 27, 28 minutes of cardio. I'm good for 2 more days. You hear me? I'm good for 2 more days. I'm going to have a strong heart. Are you going to have a strong heart? You can get out and walk at a snail's pace all day long and get 10,000 steps. But if you're not doing anything to help your heart, you are not doing much at all. Swinging this arm back and forth. I can do this all day long. I can creepy crawl through the Walmart. I can go down a sidewalk and just swing this arm all day long. Walking my dog, just easing along. But at some point, about 3 times a week, I need to crank it up. I need to tell my heart, this is what we do, and you need to be strong for times just such as this. I'm glad to be 58 years old, 58 young. I'm going to be 65 young. I'm going to be 70 young. And despite the t-shirts I wear, I am not Superman. I'm a guy. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I'm a retired military guy. And my struggles are just